Hey guys, I don't usually make videos like this, but I'm going to make a video like this. I just saw this video in my recommended, and it sparked my interest when I clicked on it, and especially when I saw the title. She didn't put Devourment in her top 10 brutal death metal. Wow, that's crazy. Who asked, I thought, but little did I know I would soon be asking many questions because this is one of the most silly videos I've ever watched in my life. I don't know if this is a joke. I thought it was, and then after watching the video, I soon realized there's a decent chance it is not a joke. The description is literally, I rant against this woman for views. So you know what? If he's allowed to rant against women for views, I'm allowed to rant against him for views. It's only fair. If you're, that's just the math. That's just how the math works. So it's only fair.
This lady, she made another list that I do not agree with. And from here on out, if you want to comment down below that this woman is allowed to have a fucking opinion, just look at this heinous list.
I really see nothing wrong with this list. I mean, if we're being real, it's not bad. I mean, they're all brutal death metal bands. You know, Putrid Pile, they're brutal. Cerebral Bore, they only have one album, I'm pretty sure, but they're pretty brutal. One of the best female vocalists in the scene, in my opinion. Gorgasm, pretty good. Skinless, great. Suffocation, classic. Viral Load, you know, they're great. They're basically Putrid Pile Part 2. Wormed is fine. Brodequin is a classic brutal death metal band. I don't really know what's the issue here. I mean, realistically, it sounds like you're the issue, if anything. And also, you say again, so clearly this is not your first time you've had some whack takes.
Where is some of the bands that should have been on this list? Where are they at? Where are they at? There's no Devourment. Where's Devourment? Where's Mortician? Where's Cow Decapitation? Where's Cannibal Corpse?
So from this point, he starts going off about what bands he thinks should be on the list, which, if we're being real here, Cattle Decapitation is death grind. I don't want to hear any coping about this whole, oh, well, they're brutal, so no, we're going to get into that conversation in a bit, but they're death grind. They're not brutal death metal. And Cannibal Corpse is not even brutal death metal.
Ranking of brutal death metal bands, that is definitely not your favorite. It's just like the top 10 of all time that I've ever known about. Yeah. Because she didn't put top 10 favorite brutal death metal bands. She put ranking brutal death metal bands. There's a difference. Believe me, there is a difference. This is her music taste, and this is what she thinks is brutal.
Who cares? Who unironically cares? Who unironically cares? If we're really going to do this whole song and dance, who cares? Who actually cares?
This is her music taste, and this is what she thinks is brutal. That is this list personified. Here's my list.
Your list is literally less brutal. I'm sorry to tell you, but it's less brutal. It also has less brutal death metal bands on it. Let's start with one. Cannibal Corpse, who is not a brutal death metal band. They have one, maybe two brutal death metal albums, but they are not a brutal death metal band. That does not make them a brutal death metal band. Okay? Let's be completely clear. And I'm saying this as having Cannibal Corpse as my favorite band. So, I don't want to hear any, oh, but they're brutal. No, they're not. Not for brutal death metal standards. Second, Mortician. Fuzzy brain rot slop that is completely inferior to 90% of the rest of god level brutal death metal bands. Devourment is not brutal death metal. Devourment is slam metal. Yes, I am getting that elitist with this because this video is a stupid video. Devourment is slam metal, not brutal death metal. They have 2 brutal death metal albums and 3 slam metal albums, which makes them slam metal. It makes them a slam metal band. I don't want to hear any complaining. Cryptopsy is fine. Necrophagist is not a brutal death metal band. They're technical death metal. You are once again missing the fucking point. You have lost the plot. You don't even know what brutal death metal is. And again, cattle decapitation is death grind. Great job. You somehow have 4 bands on this list that are not brutal death metal. And if we're really going to get into it, Internal Bleeding is also not brutal death metal, but I'll give you that one because they're like proto-slam metal, which is basically just brutal slamming death metal, which is different than slam metal.
This is what her list should have been like. At the very least, had half these bands. I don't know about the order of them, because I kind of half-assedly put top 10 kind of.
Yeah, we can definitely tell you half-assed that list because there were 4 bands that weren't brutal death metal bands.
I'm surprised Cannibal Corpse wasn't on the fucking list. Maybe she considers them too old school to be put on a brutal death metal list because she hasn't listened far into their discography, I guess. I guess Tomb of the fucking Mutilated doesn't exist. I guess they're just not, they're just too old school to be brutal, you know? They're just too old school. Bull fucking shit. Tomb of the Mutilated. Listen to that shit and tell me that's not fucking brutal. Listen to the goddamn Bleeding and tell me that that's not fucking brutal death metal.
You may be right about it being brutal death metal, but that is only those 2 albums. And 2 albums does not make a brutal death metal band when the band has 16 albums in their discography, 14 of which are not brutal death metal, and also The Bleeding is not brutal death metal. Butchered at Birth is brutal death metal. The Bleeding is just death metal. Cannibal Corpse is not a brutal death metal band. The reason she probably did not put them on is because she does not consider them a brutal death metal band, because by people that actually are elitists, unlike you, who is a poser elitist, no, they are not brutal death metal bands. They know they know Cannibal Corpse is not a brutal death metal band. And if you want even more of a source, the Metal Archives doesn't even consider them a brutal death metal band, just calling them straight death metal. Well, would you look at that?
Necrophagist is on the list. You gonna tell me they're too technical to be brutal death metal? Or are you gonna tell me Cryptopsy is too technical to be a brutal death metal band? If anything, they belong on the top 10 tech death list instead of a brutal tech. That's what you sound like.
Necrophagist isn't on the list because they're not brutal death metal. They're technical death metal. I don't care how much you want to say they're brutal death metal. Just because they're brutal does not make them automatically brutal death metal. brutal as a definition in the genre term does not instantly make something brutal just because you think it is brutal. Brutal death metal comes with a set of requirements to be brutal death metal. It does not mean, oh, everything can be brutal death metal because I think it's brutal. Slayer is brutal. Are they brutal death metal? No. Technical death metal. Not technical brutal death metal. Not brutal technical death metal. Just straight technical death metal. And also, you're fighting air here, thinking that anyone is calling Cryptopsy not brutal death metal. Cryptopsy is definitely brutal death metal. They're technical brutal death metal. So I don't know what you are talking about when you're saying that people are saying, you're acting like people would ever be saying that. You're really just fighting air here. You're right about something. You're finally right about something. You are fighting a fight that literally no one is combating you for. You are swinging into the clouds.
You listen to brutal death metal, and you didn't put Suffocation at least the top 3. You put them at number 7. At least some of your comment section has a brain, and they don't think with their goddamn dick all the fucking time. A bunch of goddamn gooners.
Her putting Suffocation at 7 is completely valid, considering it's her personal opinion and not an objective ranking. If it was an objective ranking, I'm sure she would have made a better list in terms of an objective ranking. But with how sort of limited brutal death metal is, you really can't have a perfect objective ranking because, let's be honest, most brutal death metal sounds the same. The only bands that really sound different are Suffocation, Putrid Pile, Dying Fetus, Defeated Sanity, Broken Hope, and even then, they all still kind of sound the same in a way. They all still kind of have the same level of brutality and the same kind of vibe. You're not really getting a different vibe or a different energy level from either band. They're all sort of producing the same level of brutality. In terms of people saying she's mad pretty, I really don't know what's wrong with that. I don't know why you're mad that people are complimenting a girl. That just seems really fucking sad. I don't mean that as a joke. That is genuinely sad that you are either ironically or unironically getting pressed about people thinking a girl is pretty online. I don't know what to tell you.
And you can tell by the layout of her fucking video that it's all gooners. She's all over there revealing something while she's headbanging. She's not doing that on accident. She's not doing it because, my hair's in the way. It just feels weird to be on my chest, It's like, grow a fucking brain, guys. Stop listening to this goddamn woman.
This is just a non-argument. He calls her viewers gooners, which, while that may be true, I'm sure you have people that goon to you. It definitely isn't me, that's for sure. But if we're really thinking about it, what is wrong with her having an aesthetic? And also, this is like the least bad, goth girl that goth metalhead that shows skin. This is the least bad. I've seen way worse. And I'm not saying it's bad, but if we're gonna say it's bad, I've seen way worse than this. I have seen significantly worse. So, I don't know. The peak virgin energy is coming off of this guy. Just purely by the fact that he thinks this, what are we, in the 1940s? Are we in the 1940s? This is 2024. We're not in 1924. Okay? This is not that much skin for today's standards. Come on, my guy. Get with the fucking times, okay? Get with the times, please, for the sake of yourself.
If she is making a list of the top 10 death metal, brutal death metal bands of all fucking time, she is goddamn insane. If it's all opinion based, she's even more insane because her music taste fucking sucks and she put Wormed on the fucking list. Who the fuck is Wormed? Look at Wormed. How many fucking listeners was Worm got? Fucking fuck all of all Worms got. They're just another fucking copy of Origin.
First off, Worm sounds nothing like Origin. That's just an objective lie. If you've ever heard Origin and Wormed at the same time, you can clearly tell Worm does not sound like Origin. If they were trying to copy Origin, they're doing a really fucking bad job at it because it doesn't sound like Origin. It is not that type of technical death metal. What I really find interesting is you, for some reason, go off about how many monthly listeners Wormed has. Like, you're really bothered by Wormed. It's actually very interesting. Your obsession, your hate obsession with Wormed, I don't know why. There's smaller bands in her list. There's smaller, more obscure bands in her list, like Lividity, which has 4,000 monthly listeners. Okay, why aren't you complaining about this band? Why aren't you complaining about Viral Load, which has even less than the other band that I just showed? It really just makes no sense, honestly. If we're going to be completely real here, it just makes no sense. Your complaint about them being a small band has no merit when they're not even the smallest band on the list.
Listen to fucking Origin. Don't listen to fucking Wormed. Who the fuck is Wormed? I bet you sit around and write vlogs about how the lead singer of Hatebreed is too masculine for you. That's the type of people that follow this woman and get sucked up in her trap, you know?
Brother, the lead singer of Hatebreed would fucking think you're a stupid idiot, I'm not gonna lie. Again, you could be completely joking and trolling. There is very much a possibility of that, and if you are, I'm sorry. Sort of. I mean, you put out the video. If you're joking and trolling, then, this will just give you more content. If you want to make a reaction video to this video, do it. And then I'll respond to that one. And then we can have an endless content train where we just react to each other and insult each other. It'll be great.
She's like fucking Poison Ivy, but she doesn't have to actually get off her ass and like seduce people. She just has to post TikToks of her doing this, and then y'all just flock to her. Just flock to her stupid, shitty opinions like goddamn cockroaches to a goddamn bag of sugar.
I really don't know why you're so mad about this woman having a following and having viewers and people listening to her. I don't know. It's really weird. I'm not gonna lie. This is not a good look, man. Come on, man. I know you know this isn't a good look. Like, come on, man. There's no way you genuinely think this is a good look.
Just... That's the noises you make while you fucking goon to this woman, because you're just...
What the fuck did I just watch? Yeah, this has to be a troll. Anyways, it's too late for me to fucking give up on it now, so I might as well try and say something about that. I mean, I don't know what you're even trying to do. Apparently that's what it sounds like when people goon. I've never gooned, but I can tell you, it probably doesn't sound like that. If you goon like that, I am genuinely concerned, and it explains a lot, quite honestly. Yeah. I don't want, if you've made it this far in the video, I should have said this in the beginning of the video, but you know what, fuck it. Don't harass this guy, don't fucking go to his comment section and be like, wah, 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 that's my job, okay, I don't want anyone else to do it. If you see this and, I don't hate you. I just think this was a stupid video. I'm gonna be completely honest. Um, and an informed video because I should not be out eliteing you, especially uh, with, you do not look like someone that should be getting outsmarted and out elited when it comes to metal. So, I'm gonna be honest. You gotta work on your elitist. You gotta work on being an elitist, man. If you're gonna gatekeep brutal death metal from some random woman on TikTok, you have to at least not go fucking 6-4 with how many brutal death metal bands are actually in your top 10 list. I mean, come on, man. There were 4 bands that weren't brutal death metal, and that is by elitist standards. So, I don't know. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe, I don't know, go watch I'll leave this video in the description if you for some reason want to watch the whole thing. Goodbye.